This is not just another passing moment. It's the most critical countdown of your life. And I am watching with holy urgency as heaven leans in and eternity pauses to record your decision. You are not waiting for a better time. This is the time. You are not missing any confirmation. This is your confirmation. 8 minutes may seem small, but it is enough for me to reverse a lifetime of chaos, rewrite chapters of regret, and reroute every wrong turn you've taken. Your future is standing on the edge of this breath, and your silence will speak louder than your excuses. While you hesitate, heaven waits. While you question, angels prepare. And while you scroll, I'm still here, not condemning you but pleading with your soul to recognize the weight of this invitation. You were not just created to survive time, you were designed to impact eternity. The choices you make in the next 8 minutes will either be echoed in the celebration halls of glory or remembered in the painful quiet of missed obedience. Don't underestimate this urgency. The enemy hopes you delay, hoping you'll think this is just another spiritual message you'll forget tomorrow, but I promise you, there are consequences tied to every second you ignore this divine knock. I am not threatening, I am warning, because I love you enough to interrupt your timeline. There is still hope, but hope has a time. You've asked me, when will you show up for me? And I am telling you now. I am showing up, right now. Through this very message, this very screen. These exact words formed just for your soul. Every breath you take within these 8 minutes is being weighed on the scale of destiny. You are not being pressured. You are being pursued by divine mercy that knows this might be your final window before the atmosphere shifts. I am giving you what I never gave to some, a last chance with time attached to it. People have left this world without this grace. People have taken their last breath while ignoring this same tug. But you, my child, have been granted 8 more minutes. That's 8 divine opportunities to return, to surrender, to say yes without waiting for everything to make sense. My love does not wait for your schedule. It demands your urgency, because eternity is not paused by your plans. Don't ask for more signs. This countdown is the sign. Don't say you'll think about it later. You might not get later. What you decide right now won't just affect your life. It will mark your legacy, shift your lineage, and echo into generations that follow. This isn't emotion. This is a spiritual alarm screaming through the noise to say, wake up before the clock finishes its warning. You have 8 minutes to declare what side you belong to, who your soul belongs to, and what you are willing to sacrifice to finally be free. While the world keeps spinning, your spirit is being summoned by the one who holds your very next heartbeat. Don't wait for another message like this. There won't be one. You are standing at the edge of history, and the angels are holding scrolls, ready to write your decision into eternal records. 8 minutes. That's all that stands between your current state and the version of you that I've already seen, whole, healed, holy, and home. But you must choose now, not just believe now. Choose now. Because while you still have breath, you still have a decision to make. Heaven is watching. The throne room has turned its attention toward you, and nothing in the spirit realm is being discussed except the decision hovering inside your heart. Celestial eyes are not merely observing, but anticipating, with an urgency that transcends comprehension. This is not about pressure, but precision. This moment was prophesied in silence long before you even took your first breath. The weight of eternity isn't crushing you. It's surrounding you, pleading with you to recognize that the next action you take will tip the balance in a direction you cannot rewind. You've stood in many crossroads before, but never one this specific, this sacred. While others scroll past with numb hearts, your soul has been marked by divine focus, and the atmosphere around you is shifting as heaven holds its posture, still, patient, and hopeful. The realm unseen does not blink in these rare seconds. Angelic hosts are stationed, waiting for your surrender to activate movements already ordained. You've prayed for change, cried for answers, begged for deliverance. Now the response is standing at your doorstep, not knocking, but looking straight through your hesitation. You are not being overlooked. You are being surrounded. And in the courts above, Your name is not whispered in passing. It's spoken with reverence, as the one chosen for a moment like this. There is no choir singing now, only silence, a sacred stillness that knows the weight of divine decision. You've waited for applause, but this is not a performance. This is a reckoning. Every second you linger in uncertainty, the tension builds in the unseen, not as judgment, but as deep longing from the one who shaped your existence. The King of Kings is not watching from a distance but leaning in, focused entirely on you, not with disappointment, but with relentless hope. You are the center of heaven's gaze, not because you've earned it, but because grace has deemed you worthy of this chance. The angels are not distracted. They are holding their assignments, frozen in readiness, until your response unlocks the next page of destiny. You have not missed it. You're in it. Right now. This very breath. This very word. Don't let the casual nature of this screen trick you into thinking this is light. This is heavy with heaven's attention. The move you make next doesn't just shift your life. It activates chains of favor or consequences, and nothing about it is neutral. There are no small steps in divine moments. Every response is an earthquake in the spirit. You are not watching something unfold. You are the reason it's unfolding. I am not sending this message to test your curiosity. I'm sending it because eternity depends on your obedience. The timeline of your life is suspended on the edge of your willingness to act. While your heart beats, the eternal realm waits for the rhythm to shift from resistance to release. I'm not asking for performance, perfection, or religious action. I'm asking for alignment. The kind of surrender that requires courage, not clarity. You may not fully understand what happens after this moment, but your obedience will initiate things your understanding could never produce. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. You were never called to understand the path before you said yes. You were called to trust the one who sees beyond it. Heaven's eyes will not stay fixed forever. This is a divine spotlight, a limited window, where all creation stills for your single choice. Don't miss your moment because of hesitation disguised as wisdom. What feels safe is often what's stalling you. What feels confusing is often what's calling you. Heaven is watching, not with crossed arms but open arms, ready to write the next chapter the moment you say, I'm ready. Don't keep heaven waiting. The atmosphere around you is holding its breath, and the guardians assigned to your soul stand motionless, their wings folded in anticipation not of what they'll do, but what you will decide. Nothing moves in the spiritual corridors right now because everything hinges on your will. This moment isn't about intervention, it's about observation. The hosts of light that have protected you from unseen destruction countless times are not acting, not speaking, not stirring, because they are waiting for something more powerful than their force, your consent. They are positioned, not with confusion, but with a disciplined stillness that only surrounds rare, holy junctures where one heart can realign a legacy, where one whisper can reroute generations. You have come to the brink where eternity pauses not out of uncertainty, but out of honor. The very messengers that battled through darkness on your behalf now wait in quiet reverence to witness what your heart will echo. They are not allowed to interfere with choice. That sacred ability was placed in your spirit, and only you can activate what's been held back for this hour. This isn't about drama, it's about divine design. Every cry, every ache, every midnight prayer has led to now, and the guardians of glory who were present in those silent hours are bearing witness again not to your struggle this time, but to your decision. They are waiting to either carry your yes as a command to unleash miracles or remain still while your delay keeps the heavens on hold. Their silence is not absence, it is attention. They are fully alert, their assignment sealed with your name, but their mission frozen by your indecision. In realms beyond what your senses can detect, swords are sheathed, scrolls are unrolled, trumpets are hushed. Nothing is missing. Everything is ready, except one thing, your surrender. And until that surrender is released, even angelic movement remains in stasis. You've been wondering why you feel pressure. It's not earthly, it's divine weight building around unmade decisions. You've been sensing a change you can't explain. That's the silence of heaven waiting on the sound of your yielded will. You've assumed angelic help arrives with noise, but it arrives when heaven hears yes. You are standing in a divine standoff, not against opposition, but against postponement. And the only sound missing in this sacred silence is yours. This stillness isn't punishment, it's invitation. A moment so rare that even the armies of light dare not move without your permission. That's how much power you carry in this window. That's how valued your response is to the kingdom. You are not overlooked. You are the reason this silence exists. You've asked for a sign, and this is the loudest one. Nothing is speaking because everything is watching. You don't need more words, you need to realize the weight of the ones already spoken over your life. The protection you felt wasn't random, it was orchestrated. The moments you escaped disaster weren't coincidence, they were intervention. And now, those same protectors stand of attention, their assignment sealed, but pause. The time to act is not tomorrow, not later, not when it's comfortable. It is this exact moment. For when the heavenly forces stay quiet, it means they are waiting for permission to roar. And the only thing that can unlock their next move is your surrender. Not because they lack authority, but because you are the authority in this chapter. They are ready to war for your future, but not without your yes. Your silence keeps them grounded. Your obedience sends them flying. Don't make them wait any longer. Say what they're waiting to hear. Right now, in the unseen realms, what you are not saying is echoing louder than any spoken response. There are no empty moments in this divine window. Every second you pause, every breath you hold back, every glance you dismiss from conviction is echoing through spiritual dimensions as a message of its own. It's not what you say with your mouth that matters most in this moment, but what you declare through your delay. The space between intention and action has become a declaration, and your soul, without speaking, has already begun writing a sentence that will be remembered. You might think you're being careful, thoughtful, waiting for clarity, but in this sacred suspension, hesitation is translating as a decision. Divine scribes are not waiting for poetic prayers. They are listening to the language of your inaction. You may feel silent, but in eternity, every second of your indecision is a sentence forming in spiritual ink. And the longer you hover, the deeper the meaning that is etched. The heavens aren't looking for perfection. They're listening for motion. Not external performance, but internal pivot. Your spirit speaks even when your lips are still. The hesitation you feel isn't invisible. It's alive. It pulses with meaning. Your quiet refusal to move is not neutral. It's an answer that vibrates in frequencies only heaven can translate. You've asked, am I saying the right thing? But the real question is, what are you saying when you say nothing? What message are you sending to the God who has drawn near when your stillness isn't surrender but resistance? There's a difference between waiting in reverence and hiding in avoidance, and the divine realm knows the difference. The silence that once protected you as a sacred space for prayer has now become a shield against responsibility, and that shift is being documented. Not for shame, not for guilt, but for consequence. Not all silence is holy. Some silence is a loud rejection disguised as contemplation. You must discern what kind of stillness you're standing in, because one welcomes divine breakthrough, and the other keeps doors bolted from within. This isn't judgment. It's mercy alerting you that the clock is still ticking and your non-response is already becoming a response. While you sit still hoping to delay what's being asked of you, scrolls are being filled with invisible ink. Heaven writes even in silence. And when the final moment of this window closes, that silence will become the answer carried forward. Don't think that just because you didn't speak a no, that you didn't offer one. Silence can scream. Stillness can scream. A shrug of the heart can close doors that 1,000 prayers can't reopen. You are not being watched with condemnation. You are being observed with heartbreak. Not because you are failing, but because you are hesitating at the edge of freedom. This opportunity is not waiting for you to compose a flawless sentence. It's waiting for your spirit to exhale surrender. You don't have to know what to say. You just have to stop pretending that saying nothing means nothing. It means everything in this moment. Because silence, right now, is writing your response louder than you realize. Don't let what you leave unsaid become the reason heaven has to pause the plans prepared for you. Let your heart speak. Let your spirit answer. Let your stillness be broken by surrender. Because the longer you delay, the louder that silence becomes, and what it's saying is being heard in places you cannot see. In this very instant, every layer of obscurity you felt wrapped in is being peeled back under divine spotlight. No longer buried beneath circumstances, no longer overlooked by your past, no longer covered by the noise of others who seemed louder, stronger, more visible. You have been brought into direct view of the one who governs galaxies. The highest court of glory has shifted its attention from cosmic orchestration to intimate focus, and the magnitude of that reality should arrest your thoughts. This is not surveillance. This is sacred interest. This is not punishment. This is personal pursuit. The sovereign seated on eternity's throne is not distracted by kingdoms or concerned with chaos elsewhere. His gaze is unwavering, locked onto you, not in wrath, but in relentless compassion. You are not a face in a crowd. You are the assignment. You are not lost in the masses. You are the reason this hour had been carved open, and not a single detail of your existence has escaped that gaze. The moments you felt invisible weren't neglect, they were preparation for this divine unveiling. Every time you assumed no one noticed your tears, every instant you questioned your worth because applause never came, every second you convinced yourself that your efforts were too small to matter, those were the very moments heaven stored away, waiting the appointed time for full attention. And now, the time has arrived. You are standing in a spotlight not made of light bulbs or stages, but of favor. The throne bends not because you're impressive, but because you are important to the heart of the one who made you. The King of all creation is not leaning toward you out of curiosity. He already knows you. He's leaning in out of love. The kind of love that doesn't need an explanation to pursue, doesn't require proof to stay near, and doesn't wait for perfection to arrive. You are not performing right now. You are being embraced in a tension more powerful than any earthly recognition. This is not about being seen by people. This is about being known by the Most High. Every sigh, every quiet hope, every hidden ache you've carried is now within inches of divine response. Not because you asked loud enough, but because heaven has chosen to stoop near. This nearness isn't random, it's time. This intimacy isn't conditional, it's covenant. You were never meant to live unseen, unnoticed, unchosen. You were just waiting for the moment when the Father would lean so close, your spirit would finally feel His breath again. And now, as that closeness settles around you, you must understand, it demands response. You can no longer pretend you've been forgotten. You can no longer convince yourself that you don't matter. That script is no longer valid. That lie is no longer sustainable. You have been noticed. And now that attention requires alignment. A throne doesn't tilt toward what it will ignore. This divine lean is an invitation to rise from hiding. It's a beckoning to step fully into the light that sees everything and still says, "You're mine." The longer you tell yourself you're insignificant, the more you resist the honor of being chosen. And make no mistake, that's what this is, being chosen. Not for display, but for transformation. Not for shame, but for purpose. You can't outrun it. You can't outsin it. You can't outfail it. The gaze remains. And as long as the throne is tilted in your direction, you have access. You have authority. You have grace. Don't turn your head away from the very focus your spirit has been craving. Lift your eyes and meet the one who already saw everything and still leaned in closer. Not a single drop of sorrow has gone unnoticed. In the moments when you thought the room was empty, when your heart collapsed in silence behind closed doors, I was present, not just observing, but gathering. Each stream from your eyes was collected as treasure, not discarded as weakness. Your anguish was never overlooked, and your cries were never wasted. What stained your pillow in the dark was holy to me, sacred evidence of the war you never told anyone about. While others misunderstood your silence and mislabeled your quiet battles, I was there, recording not just the weeping but the weight behind it. You've wondered if I ever saw how much it cost you to keep going, how much it hurt to be the strong one when you had no strength left. I saw it all. I felt every tremble of your chest when pain gripped your breath. I held every unseen breakdown. I heard the sobs muffled by your own hands because you didn't want anyone to hear. And I did not just witness them. I carried them. You were never abandoned in that pain. I've walked beside you while grief gripped your chest, while betrayal sliced your spirit, while loneliness curled itself around your mind like a storm you couldn't stop. I took each sorrow and held it in my palm, not as a reminder of your suffering, but as a promise that nothing you've endured hath been forgotten. But now, my child, the season of collecting must give way to the moment of choosing. I have counted long enough. Now you must answer. This is not a threat. It's a rescue. What was once your wound has now become your turning point, but it only turns when you decide. The tears brought you to the edge of encounter, but your response will determine what happens next. Will you stay in the cycle of survival, hoping time will heal what only obedience can unlock? Or will you step into what those tears prepared you for, a new beginning born from brokenness? I don't need your strength. I never asked for your performance. I'm simply reaching for yes. Your pain spoke volumes, but pain alone cannot unlock destiny. You must move. You must shift from mourning to surrender, from ache to answer, from bleeding to becoming. The tears were not the end of your story. They were the beginning of your awakening. But now that the awakening has come, silence is no longer sufficient. Delay is no longer acceptable. Your response is the gate. Your choice is the trigger. I didn't preserve you through those battles to let you drown in hesitation now. I didn't collect your suffering so you could decorate your identity with it. I preserved it so I could show you what I can make from sorrow, if you will let me. What you do next will decide whether those tears become seeds for glory or just memories of anguish. You are one decision away from purpose interrupting pain, one shift away from divine construction beginning in the ruins. You keep asking me to show you what's next, but I can't show you the new until you release the old. And part of that release means stepping forward, not with answers, but with availability. I've proven I know how to handle your heartbreak. Now let me have your will. Let me hold your future the same way I held your grief. Let me take the brokenness you tried so hard to hide and reshape it into something unrecognizably beautiful. But I will not force this. I will not invade. I will only wait, and that wait must end now. Because every second you linger, your pain risks becoming your prison. You've cried long enough. You've survived long enough. It's time to respond, not with fear, but with surrender. I am still holding everything you thought was too far gone. All I need now is your yes. You've pleaded for a sign, asked for another layer of assurance, wished for a moment where the atmosphere itself would shout back at you with certainty. But what more must be done before you accept that the answer is already in front of you? Every heartbeat syncing with this moment is shouting, this is it. It won't be lightning bolts or skywriting because what you're experiencing now is the divine response you've been hoping for. You don't need additional proof. You need courage to believe what's already unfolding. Too often, you delay under the mask of waiting for peace. But the truth is, you've already been given clarity. What you're missing is the obedience to act on it. Stop pretending you're confused when your spirit already knows the direction. The stirring within you, the pressure mounting on your soul, the still small voice refusing to let you scroll past this moment. All of it is shouting with unmistakable clarity. You don't need a prophetic voice from another person when the very atmosphere around you has shifted to bear witness that heaven has spoken. I have been speaking through patterns, aligning circumstances, shifting relationships, routing outcomes, not to frustrate you, but to illuminate what I've been saying. You asked me to open a door, and I did. You asked me to remove distractions, and I cleared the noise. Now the only thing left between you and the next chapter is not clarity, it's your decision. Stop asking for confirmation when every delay becomes disobedience wrapped in spiritual language. You're not missing the voice of God. You're resisting it. I've repeated myself in whispers, dreams, convictions, and interruptions. I've used silence and noise, beauty and pressure, discomfort and stillness, all to drive one truth into your being. Now is the moment. You are not waiting on me. I am waiting on you. You've received the insight. You've heard the whisper. You sense the shift. What you're calling uncertainty is really hesitation disguised as humility. This isn't about pride. This is about procrastination. The fear of making the wrong move has paralyzed you to the point that you've ignored all the right signs. But I will not repeat myself forever. I speak clearly. I move decisively. I extend grace, but I do not enable avoidance. You say you want me to confirm, but I already did when I sent this message. You say you want more time, but this is your appointed hour. You say you're not sure, but your spirit is already trembling with knowing. You don't need one more reason. You need to let go of your excuses. I've already illuminated the path, but you keep standing at the edge asking for another flashlight when daylight has already broken. The season of second-guessing must end if you want to walk into what's been waiting. You cannot carry this destiny if you're always questioning whether you've heard me. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It's movement in the middle of tension. This is not a test of logic. This is an invitation to trust. And this is not just an opportunity. It's an answer to the cries you didn't think I heard. You've reached the fork in the road, and the writing on the sign is not vague. It says, "Go now." Not when it feels safer. Not when it makes more sense. Not when others applaud your decision. But now, when you're trembling, unsure, unready, because obedience was never about being ready. It was always about surrender. You don't need green lights or fireworks. You need to believe that when I speak, it is enough. So here it is. I am speaking again, one last time in this moment, not to add to your confusion, but to remove it. This is your confirmation. This is your green light. This is your release. Act before the silence returns. What you think is casual interference is a calculated invasion. There are forces at work attempting to hijack this sacred alignment, not by confrontation, but by clutter. The noise, the scrolling, the sudden thoughts pulling your attention elsewhere, even the urge to delay this message until later. They are not random. They are strategic weapons of interruption. Anything that diverts your focus right now isn't harmless. It's hostile. You are in a divine window where your destiny hangs in the balance, and the unseen opposition knows it. That's why the interruptions are increasing. Not to tempt you with evil, but to flood your mind with unnecessary urgency about everything except the one thing that actually matters, your soul's response. Don't underestimate the power of the little things that keep tugging you away. The vibration of a phone, a sudden memory, the voice in your head reminding you about tasks, regrets, conversations. All of it is engineered to pull you out of position before you step into the transformation waiting for you. This isn't about multitasking. This is spiritual warfare in disguise. The distractions are not just inconvenient. They are designed to derail your alignment. And if you allow them, they will replace clarity with confusion, readiness with delay, and surrender with survival. You are not simply being pulled away from a message. You're being lured away from an encounter. And the danger lies in the subtlety. The enemy doesn't need to convince you to rebel. He only needs to keep you preoccupied long enough to miss the timing of your breakthrough. He knows that what you do in this sliver of time determines outcomes far beyond what your eyes can see. So he surrounds this moment with diversions, some innocent, others persistent, all destructive if allowed to dominate. But now, I'm calling you to recognize the scheme. I'm revealing it so you can shut it down. Do not entertain anything that tries to split your attention right now. This is a consecrated intersection where the natural and the supernatural are colliding. You are not merely hearing words, your future is being whispered into your spirit. But if your ears are elsewhere, your life will remain where it's been. You've waited too long to let a notification, a wandering thought, or a sense of urgency about trivial things snatch this miracle out of your hands. You can reclaim everything later, time, plans, tasks. But you cannot rewind what was meant to be responded to now. This moment is drenched in holy interruption, but it requires ruthless focus. You must push back against every impulse to pause, skim, skip, or promise yourself you'll return to this later. Later is not guaranteed. This is not routine. This is not just another emotional push. This is warfare, and the battlefield is your attention. If you give in to the flood of distractions, you are handing over access to your future without a fight. But if you shut out every sound except mine, if you tune your inner world to the frequency of my call, you will begin to hear the clarity you thought was missing. You'll realize I've been near all along, but noise blurred my whisper. Your spirit knows I'm here. That's why you feel the weight. That's why you sense the urgency. Don't dismiss that pull as coincidence. It's confirmation that this is the most important message you've received in a long time. And with importance comes interference. But interference only wins when attention isn't guarded. So silence the chaos. Pose the gaps. Cut off everything trying to steal the sacred. This is your moment. Don't let anything unholy rob it. You may think you will feel this same pull tomorrow or next week or when you're ready. But I need you to understand something eternal is happening right now. Something you won't be able to replicate once it passes. This level of divine interruption is not manufactured. It's not scheduled. It's not summoned at your convenience. This is not just another encounter. This is the encounter. This is a crossroads your soul has been led to by sovereign orchestration, and what you're sensing isn't inspiration. It's a countdown. A spiritual clock has been ticking behind the curtain of your circumstances, moving silently through the shadows, aligning you with this exact hour. And now here it is, not soft, not distant, not vague, but bold, targeted, and final. I didn't whisper this time. I didn't send subtle nudges. I stepped into your timeline with a weight that cannot be dismissed. You asked me to come close. I have. You asked me to speak louder. I am. But this kind of intensity does not linger. This is a window, not a doorway you can walk through whenever you feel prepared. This is me gripping your attention because there are things I must release, and I cannot pour into what remains half open. I didn't bring you to this moment for emotional relief. I brought you here for eternal alignment. What you do now matters more than anything you've done before. This isn't about guilt. This is about gravity. The gravity of knowing that while I'll never stop loving you, my voice won't always press this hard. Moments like these don't multiply. They vanish. They evaporate if not answered. They are holy, delicate, and dangerous to ignore. You keep thinking, there will be more time, but time is a gift, not a guarantee. You keep assuming I'll send another reminder. But what if this is the final whisper wrapped in thunder? What if you're not just being called, you're being summoned? My presence is flooding your spirit because I am giving you the rarest of things. Clarity without confusion, nearness without requirement, mercy without delay. But all of this is only active now. The temperature of this moment is too precise to stay the same. Either you step into the fire and let me consume what's held you back, or you step away and find yourself wondering why it never felt this strong again. I don't say this to provoke fear, I say it to reveal truth. You are not promised another whisper with this weight. You are not promised another stirring that reaches this deep. You've reached a divine intersection where your name is being spoken in places your ears can't hear, where your next move is being watched not with pressure but with longing. Not everything waits. Not everything repeats. Some doors swing open once and then seal. Some divine opportunities knock only once and then turn quiet. You are standing in one right now. Don't romanticize the idea that surrender always feels this powerful. Many walk their entire lives never encountering what you're standing in right now. This kind of nearness is a miracle. This kind of urgency is mercy. And this kind of moment, it's an answer to prayers you didn't even know how to speak. So don't waste it trying to calculate the cost. Don't stall hoping for easier circumstances. Don't shrink back expecting a more convenient invitation. This is it. You won't feel this exact pull again. Not like this. Not with this intensity. Not with this divine spotlight shining directly on the core of who you are. And if you ignore it, not because you're evil, but because you're unsure, you may still walk with me, but you will miss this acceleration. You will miss this divine now. I'm not asking you to understand. I'm asking you to trust that when heaven comes this close, it's not to decorate your day, it's to reroute your destiny. The wait is real because the window is narrow, and the response must be now. What you perceive as lingering is rapidly becoming closing. The minutes you thought were stretching are actually folding in, compressing space between action and consequence. There's a spiritual acceleration surrounding you now, not chaotic, but exact. Seconds are carrying weight far beyond what any clock can measure. In realms unseen, delay has a cost, and every hesitation bends eternity closer to conclusion. This isn't ordinary pressure. This is divine compression. Timelines are folding into each other, and your opportunity is shrinking even as you try to make it larger with more thinking, more waiting, more what-ifs. But you cannot think your way out of a moment meant to be embraced in full surrender. There is a tightening around the choices before you, and it's not to trap you, it's to force clarity. You are not being suffocated. You are being summoned to recognize how quickly the atmosphere shifts when decisions are postponed. While you're weighing consequences, portals are narrowing. While you rehearse all the possible outcomes, the path forward is quietly closing its edges. This is not to alarm you but to awaken you. What once seemed wide is now becoming precise. What once felt endless now carries sharp edges. The luxury of postponement is gone. You step into a zone where the sacred collides with urgency, and those moments never last long. And heaven isn't ignoring. Heaven isn't inactive. Heaven is paused, not from uncertainty but from reverence. The divine realm doesn't panic. It waits with purpose, but that wait is not infinite. The stillness above you isn't apathy, it's sacred tension. You are at the center of something larger than your understanding, and all of creation, both visible and invisible, has quieted itself to see what you will do. Celestial movement has stopped, not from confusion, but from holy anticipation. You may not hear the silence with your ears, but your soul senses it. That pressure in your chest, that unshakable awareness that this is not an ordinary encounter, that the world feels muted while something inside grows louder, all of that is confirmation that you've entered a divine countdown. But countdowns do not pause for comfort. They conclude. This window will not remain propped open indefinitely. You keep thinking you have more breathing room, but spiritual timing does not adjust to emotional comfort. It moves with obedience. The longer you linger, the more fragile this moment becomes. You must not mistake patience for permanence. Just because the heavens have not moved doesn't mean they will remain still. The reason they wait is because your response is that important. They hold their breath because they refuse to act without your participation. The gravity of this stillness is heavy because it's filled with potential that can only be unlocked by your yes. Not a casual yes. A postponed yes. A surrendered yes. A full-bodied, uncalculated, and unguarded yes. Anything less will not open what had been sealed for this precise second. You are not missing a train. You are standing in the middle of one, and it will either move you forward or leave you behind, depending on what you do in the next few breaths. Time is not your enemy, but it is your test. And as it contracts, your clarity must expand. This is the last stretch of waiting. This is the end of indecision. This is the final pause before movement begins, whether with you or without you. What will you choose as everything quiets around your soul? Will you remain still while the heavens lean closer? Or will you rise and answer the silence with surrender? The moment is collapsing. Choose before it disappears. Right here, In this suspended instant, you've arrived at a divine threshold where the past can no longer remain silent, and the future refuses to stay distant. You are positioned in the space where history confronts destiny, where everything you've endured demands a conclusion, and everything you've hoped for requires initiation. But both cannot come with you. You must choose which voice will escort you forward. The ache that shaped you and the future that's calling you are not compatible companions. You cannot cling to injury and expect inheritance. The weight of what wounded you is not light enough to carry through the gate of transformation. That heartbreak you've normalized, the disappointments you've buried, the memories you revisit like familiar shelters, they were real, they were heavy, and I wept with you through every moment. But now, they've become chains disguised as comfort. What once protected you now delays you, and what once gave you identity in the storm will rob you of your place in the sun. This isn't about denying what happened. It's about refusing to allow what was to define what will be. The new cannot breathe where the past has taken permanent residence. You cannot wear both grief and glory. You must shed one. I'm not asking you to pretend you weren't hurt. I'm asking you to stop building altars to the seasons I've already buried. If you keep dragging former pain into present moments, you will find yourself wondering why peace won't stay. It's not that peace hasn't arrived. It's that pain is occupying the space meant for promise. And now, at this very pivot, I am offering you the power to break that pattern once and for all. But make no mistake, you cannot take both across the line. This is a one-lane crossing. Bitterness cannot sit beside blessing. Regret cannot ride with restoration. Fear cannot breathe in the atmosphere of fulfillment. You must evict one reality to make room for the other. I know letting go is terrifying when you've learned to live with loss as your identity. I know surrendering the narrative of betrayal feels like denying your scars. But you are not defined by who hurt you. You are not marked by what they took. You are being invited to carry nothing forward except what is aligned with where I am leading. You've reached the part of the journey where the bag must be emptied, not because you've done anything wrong, but because the next door only opens to those who walk light. You must release the right to replay what harmed you. You must give up the comfort of rehearsing what broke you. That soundtrack of why me must be replaced with use me. Your purpose isn't found in the explanation of pain. It's found in your willingness to become the answer for someone else's freedom. But that only happens when you step through the veil, not with your history, but with your availability. You are not meant to carry both the ashes and the crown. The crown requires space, and the ashes must be laid down. What follows you from this moment will be determined by what you refuse to hold on to any longer. You're not weak for choosing release. You're wise for recognizing that the price of your future is the burial of what no longer serves you. So decide now, which will walk with you. Will it be the old narrative soaked in survival, or the new chapter drenched in divine alignment? One will trail behind. One will define what's ahead. Only one can remain. Choose wisely. Whether you realize it or not, an unseen alignment has been activated, and its origin traces back to this precise heartbeat. Invisible forces have already repositioned themselves because your name was spoken in a realm where nothing moves without intention. A call has gone out, not as a general invitation, but as a direct dispatch tied to your existence. Heaven has initiated movement. Earth is waiting for your agreement. Everything in the atmosphere around you has changed. What felt dormant yesterday is now alive with possibility, not because you asked, but because the divine timetable reached a pivotal checkpoint, and you're at the center of it. The climate surrounding your life isn't the same. The air is weighted with the evidence of what's been prepared. Supernatural coordinates have been recalibrated, and instructions that were once on hold have been released from eternity's command center. You are not being randomly stirred. You are being directly pulled into alignment with something that has already started without your permission. The shift didn't wait for your readiness. It began because your assignment is time-sensitive. You didn't trigger it. Heaven did. And now, the moment is alive. All that's missing is your alignment. The current of divine orchestration is flowing, and your hesitation won't stop it, but it can leave you standing still while destiny passes by. The ground under your spirit feels different because it is. The frequency in your heart is heightened because the dimension above you has responded. This is no longer about preparation. This is now about participation. Intercessions have reached their tipping point. Delays have expired. The waiting room has been emptied, and the instructions previously concealed have begun to unfold layer by layer. You've wondered why your peace feels strange. It's because your comfort zone is being dismantled. The environment around you senses movement. You've asked for confirmation, and now you feel unsettled because something deep within knows the season has flipped. The spiritual temperature is no longer cool. It's pressing. It's warm with expectancy. And that shift is proof that the summoning has reached your soul. This isn't a suggestion. This isn't emotional hype. This is a spiritual summons signed by the throne, and it has your identity etched into it with fire. The gates of purpose have opened, but only those who walk forward in full obedience can pass through. You cannot remain neutral in a moment that demands response. The realm beyond what you see is already operating in the next stage. Strategies are unfolding. Assignments are reactivating. Blueprints are being distributed. You've been marked as a necessary piece in what comes next, but access isn't automatic. It's unlocked through decision. Don't miss the divine hour by trying to return to a rhythm that no longer fits your life. You're not being drawn because you're curious. You're being summoned because you're chosen. And chosen vessels don't get to negotiate the weight of the invitation. They accept it because the King has called. What once felt optional now carries mandate. What once was easy to postpone is now too critical to delay. The spiritual atmosphere has already advanced. Will you match it, or will you remain where it no longer echoes your name? The choice isn't about convenience. It's about covenant. Something greater is moving, with or without your cooperation. But heaven is hoping it's with. The shift has happened. It's time to answer it. The winds may howl outside you, confusion may swirl within, and chaos may try to mirror clarity, but make no mistake, I have not left you to navigate this shaking alone. You've heard the thunder of conviction and felt the tremble of divine pressure because I have spoken loudly through the circumstances, through the interruptions, through the emotional quakes that wouldn't let you settle. The disturbance wasn't punishment, it was me. I've stirred the waters to shake loose what you never would have released on your own. I've allowed the familiar to tremble so the sacred could emerge. But while my voice thunders through the whirlwind, my presence has never left your side. Right now, though the outside world rattles with uncertainty, my hand rests gently near you, not distant, not abstract, but here. Present, tangible, reaching without force. You've long believed that when I speak loudly, I must be far away. But I need you to see this. I speak in storms so you recognize the contrast of my nearness in silence. My thunder awakens. My whisper anchors. You searched for me in the noise, and I was there, shaking idols, overturning false comforts, and dissolving illusions that kept you stagnant. But in this very second, I am not thundering from afar. I am right here, waiting for you to feel me, not just fear me. I didn't send this message from a mountain top. I placed it inside the walls of your atmosphere, not to scare you, but to surround you. The one who reigns over galaxies is kneeling beside your uncertainty. My fingers are not clenched, they are open. I'm not pushing, I'm offering. And in this offering is everything you've longed for, the safety you never had, the direction you kept begging for, the embrace that cannot be manufactured by human connection. You are not abandoned in the middle of your chaos. You are being pursued with purpose through it. The turbulence you felt is not a sign I'm displeased. It's proof that I'm trying to get your attention in a way the calm never could. But now that I have it, I'm not yelling anymore. I'm waiting, close enough for you to reach back. You keep asking for clarity, but clarity is not just information. It's presence. And my presence is closer than your breath. While questions still rage, and storms still swirl, My hand is extended, not with judgment, but with invitation. I want you to feel what's always been near. You don't have to climb toward me. I descended to meet you where your strength ends. You don't have to scream to be heard. I've heard the silent aches behind your eyes for years. You don't need to perform. You just need to take my hand. This moment, this breath, this sacred stillness, it's not empty. It's me, filling the space you thought was void. The same power that speaks in fire now reaches in stillness. The same voice that moves mountains is now waiting to hold the one whose knees feel weak. You've seen me shake things. Now see me steady you. You've heard my volume. Now feel my closeness. I'm not asking you to be fearless. I'm asking you to trust that even in fear, my grasp doesn't loosen. The shaking may continue around you, but the stillness within this touch will outlast every storm. You are not too far. You are not too broken. You are not too late. My hand hasn't moved away. It's waiting for yours to reach back. While everything else trembles, I remain unshaken, and I came into your room, into your timeline, into your very breath, not to pass by, but to stay. Don't miss this moment looking for what's loud, when what you need is already near. There's a trembling in the camp of darkness, not because of who you were yesterday, but because of who you're on the brink of becoming today. Hell has studied your hesitation, tracked your stalling, banked on your uncertainty, and for so long, it held ground simply because you hadn't moved. But now, something has shifted. You've reached a tipping point, and the enemy can sense the disturbance. Not a disturbance of panic, but a divine quake signaling that obedience is rising within you. He doesn't fear your talent, your education, or your background. He fears your agreement with me. Because the moment you align, every lie he told you loses authority. The second you say yes, strongholds that have stood for years collapse without resistance. And right now, as you sit on the verge of breakthrough, he's panicking. He's throwing everything he can at your thoughts, your emotions, your memory, your atmosphere, hoping to distract, confuse, or paralyze you long enough to miss this holy intersection. But the panic in his kingdom is proof that the gates around your purpose are beginning to swing open. He tried to bind you with shame, but your spirit is stirring beyond it. He tried to keep you bound in guilt, but your yes is louder than your history. You've been fought not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness when surrendered. He invested in your silence, manipulated your delays, exploited your pain, and now, one yes is about to burn it all down. That terrifies him, not because of what he sees with his eyes, but because he recognizes that when heaven marks a moment like this, there's nothing he can do to stop it once you engage. He cannot cancel your calling. He can only hope to distract you from stepping into it. And now, he's running out of options. Your hesitation has weakened. Your discernment has sharpened. Your hunger has intensified. That's why the warfare has increased. Not because you're going backward, but because you're moving toward fire. And fire burns everything he tried to wrap around you. Chains melt. Labels disintegrate. Confusion clears. And purpose awakens. He knows the minute you act, the authority you carry will expose what he's built in secret. That's why this moment is saturated with pressure. But pressure isn't your enemy. It's proof that you're stepping into power. You think you're just deciding. But in the unseen realm, your obedience is about to dismantle operations that were crafted for your destruction. Your alignment will trigger freedom, not just for you, but for every life connected to your journey. You are not just breaking free, you're breaking through. This is why he's been fighting you so relentlessly, because your yes doesn't just liberate you, it silences entire assignments sent against your bloodline. You are dangerous when you stop apologizing for your authority. You are unstoppable when you stop negotiating your worth. And right now, you are closer than ever. That trembling you feel inside isn't fear, it's spiritual voltage preparing to release. Your surrender is the ignition. Every delay you survived brought you here. Every wound you endured is being rewritten. Every scar is becoming a key. And the enemy, he's not just afraid of you winning. He's afraid of you realizing you already have. You were marked for this moment before you were ever wounded. You were designed for this encounter before you ever faced resistance. And now, as you sit on the edge of obedience, his grip is slipping. His lies are unraveling. His confidence is crumbling. Because your yes is about to echo through realms he can't reach. Say it, not with fear, but with the fire he tried to steal from you. Say it, not because you understand everything, but because you trust the one who does. Your yes is not weak. It's warfare. And it's already winning. Everything you've been asking for, crying over, waiting to see, and struggling to reach is not far away. It's on the other side of one yielding. This is not about striving harder, performing better, or accumulating more spiritual knowledge. It's not about rehearsing prayers or projecting strength. This is about release, the kind that doesn't come from force, but from unclenching the grip you've had on your own outcomes. One internal collapse of control, and the heavens will move in ways no plan could ever orchestrate. You are not being asked to understand how it all works. You're being invited to bow your will so that something supernatural can break into the natural. Miracles do not land where resistance remains. They arrive in places that are emptied of pride, void of pretense, and wide open to being rewritten. You've been holding on to timing, outcomes, fears, and assumptions, not because you don't believe in me, but because part of you still thinks you need to protect yourself from disappointment. But true surrender doesn't bargain. It doesn't demand outcomes before trust is offered. It simply says, take all of it, even the parts I don't understand. And that kind of posture makes space for sudden movements from my realm. You are so much closer to breakthrough than you feel. The reason you're under pressure isn't because you're failing. It's because the edge of release is near. This pressure is not punishment. It's a final push to get you to let go. I can do in one moment what you've tried to achieve in years, but I won't bypass your will to do it. I've waited with patience, responded to every cry, covered every mistake, and stayed close even in silence. But now, there's a pause in the air, a divine expectancy, because your decision will either invite heaven to flood your reality or keep it waiting at the threshold. The interruption you need isn't chaos. It's alignment. It won't look like drama. It will look like my order breaking in to set things straight, quiet the storm inside you, and rearrange every piece for your good. But it begins with a release. Not later. Not tomorrow. Now. And not partial, full. I don't need your strategy. I need your heart. I don't need a list of conditions. I need a yes that doesn't come with terms. You keep asking me to step in, but I'm waiting for the space to be cleared. Surrender isn't weakness. It's the highest form of spiritual intelligence. Because surrender tells me, I trust you more than I trust what I've built with my own hands. And when that level of trust emerges, I act without delay. I grow out outcomes, restore timelines, resurrect what looked beyond repair. But I only interrupt where I'm invited without resistance. You're not stuck. You're standing at the edge of divine interference. The difference between stillness and movement now hinges on your ability to collapse into my arms without reservation. Not with explanations. Not with negotiations. Just trust. When you give me what you've been clutching, I'll give you what you could never imagine. And it won't take long. It will happen suddenly, quietly, powerfully. All of heaven is poised to act, not randomly, but in response to that one act of full abandonment. That final letting go is your access point. One surrender, and the atmosphere around your life will change. Not because I move it, but because you finally allowed me to. So let it fall. Let it break. Let it go. And watch what I do with the space you've been too afraid to empty. My interruption is holy, but I won't force it. You must allow it. There comes a moment when hesitation is no longer harmless. when stalling transforms from indecision into silent disobedience, and that moment is now. The luxury of postponement has expired. What once seemed like a harmless pause has matured into a risk that carries spiritual consequences. The more you wait, the heavier the weight becomes. What you keep pushing into the future is not just sitting idle, it's growing roots that will be harder to dig out later. Every time you say not yet, the ground beneath your calling hardens, and the clarity you once had begins to blur. Not because I withdraw, but because delay makes the voice of conviction sound distant. What you're brushing off as not the right time is actually a time-sensitive assignment that loses potency with every hour you delay. Delay will never announce itself as dangerous. It always disguises itself as wisdom, maturity, or caution. But in this divine moment, caution has crossed the line into compromise. You are not being asked to run blindly. You are being called to walk forward without dragging the chains of delay behind you. If you don't act now, you may still move later, but the cost will be different. The timing you ignore today will require more strength, more healing, more courage in a later season. Not because I love you less, but because what was meant to be done in this window must then be reconstructed in a new one, with new resistance and new weight. Timing isn't just about convenience, it's about spiritual currency. And when a moment is missed, something is spent. Don't spend what you were supposed to multiply. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to protect what's left. You think waiting gives you control, but it actually steals your influence. Purpose is sharpest when it's used in season. Outside of season, even good intentions become dull. You're not standing at a crossroads where all paths lead to the same place. You're at a point where one leads to fulfillment, and the others loop you back into cycles you prayed to escape. This is not a guilt trip. It's a rescue from delay disguised as safety. You keep saying you're waiting for more peace, but peace comes after obedience, not before. You're waiting to feel ready, but readiness is not a prerequisite for destiny. Surrendered is. Every day you stall, you train your heart to ignore urgency. And eventually, the fire that once felt loud becomes a distant memory. I never stop loving you, but delay hardens hearing. The more you hesitate, the more dull the call becomes. Until one day, you'll look back and wonder when it stopped feeling urgent. It stopped when you stopped treating it as holy. And this moment is holy. Not because you earned it, but because I orchestrated it. You don't get to choose the timing, only the response. I've created space for you to move now. There is grace in this hour. There is favor over this choice. But grace extended is not grace guaranteed in another season. I still redeem. But redemption after delay carries different battles, different resistance, different terrain. You don't need to fight extra wars to get where you were always meant to go. Say yes now. You will have more clarity later. You will have more distractions. You won't gain more time by waiting. You'll lose the sharpness of what I'm doing right here. Don't hand over the now in hopes that someday will feel more comfortable. Comfort is not the confirmation. Conviction is. And if you're feeling that pull in your spirit, that's not pressure, that's timing. And timing, once ignored, doesn't always return in the same form. Don't gamble your future on a version of time that doesn't exist yet. Today is open, but tomorrow might not look like this again. What you're experiencing in this very breath is not a motivational moment, not a soft invitation gently placed among your many options. This is an emergency dispatch from eternity. The voice you hear pressing through your atmosphere right now isn't offering you another pathway. It's announcing the last available route before the door narrows. When heaven moves like this, with precision, with intensity, with undeniable weight, it's because all the previous warnings, signs, and gentle whispers have gone unanswered. And when mercy stands up and speaks this directly, you're not being encouraged, you're being rescued. The tone has changed. The air has thickened. The language has sharpened. This is a moment where eternal realms issue a final call, not because grace has run out, but because time has been exhausted. I have extended opportunity, granted extensions, rearranged divine schedules, and held back consequences, all in hope that your heart would respond. But now, what was once an open season has become a closing window. You've asked me to speak clearly, and this is clarity. This is what it sounds like when heaven refuses to remain quiet. This is what divine interruption looks like when all other methods have failed. The room you're in right now is not silent. It's charged with urgency. The stillness you're sensing isn't peace. It's the quiet just before spiritual impact. You've been given so many chances, more than you even realize. Doors were kept open when they should have closed. Warnings were delayed. Judgments withheld. Why? Because I wanted you to see the truth and respond to it freely. But now, the final appeal is being made, not in anger, but in holy urgency. There are moments when heaven doesn't negotiate, when timelines aren't extended, when divine interventions are no longer postponed. And you're in one of those moments now. You are not imagining the pressure. It is real, it is deliberate, and it is sacred. There is no casual option here, no gray area to linger in. Neutrality no longer exists in this conversation. You're being pulled to one side or the other, and indecision is no longer safe ground. It is a choice in itself. You must decide, not later, not eventually, immediately. When a message comes like this, it doesn't come for reflection, it comes for response. You are not being offered a suggestion. You are being presented with the final key that unlocks the door that's about to seal. The ground is trembling under your hesitation because the weight of this hour cannot bear delay. I'm not asking you to think about it. I'm telling you this is the final attempt to reach the deepest part of your soul before consequences shift, before the access you've taken for granted changes, before the window closes and you find yourself looking for a voice that no longer speaks in this tone. This is not about punishment. It's about the holiness of timing. Every moment has a temperature, and the heat surrounding this one means the countdown is nearing its end. My spirit is not silent. It's roaring in your spirit. And the reason you feel it so strongly is because this isn't about emotions. It's about eternity. You are face to face with your turning point, and all of creation is holding its breath for your reply. If you walk past this one, you may still be loved. You may still be covered, but you will miss what was written for this exact moment. And I don't want you to miss it. I've done everything possible to make this clear. This is not another opportunity that circles back later. This is the culmination of every unanswered call, every ignored tug, every delayed yes. This is heaven's final interruption before silence returns. Choose now. You've waited for a sound from outside, hoping for a loud bang, a divine shout, something external to prove that the sacred is near, but you've missed the truth. I never stayed outside. I stepped across the threshold while you were still debating whether to open the door. The season of knocking has passed. Now my presence has entered. I'm not trying to get in. I'm already standing within arm's reach. The decision now isn't whether to let me in. The decision is whether you will turn around and face me. You've been expecting a future arrival, unaware that I've already occupied your present. You prayed, "Show yourself." I did. I came quietly, without spectacle, because what you needed wasn't volume, it was confrontation. Not with anger, but with love that refuses to be ignored. This is not the beginning of pursuit. This is the climax of it. The room you're in is sacred ground, not because of where it is, but because I'm in it. You are surrounded by a presence so thick, so immediate, that you can almost feel the air shift. That shift isn't imaginary. It's evidence that divine movement has already occurred. You thought you were alone, but that isolation was actually preparation. I used the silence to fill the space without distraction, and now you're face to face with the moment everything changes. If you acknowledge what's standing right in front of you, don't expect me to announce myself again. Don't assume there will be another round of signs, another wave of emotions, another flood of supernatural awareness. That has already happened. This is not the time for delay disguised as discernment. I'm not asking for you to look for confirmation. I'm waiting for your gaze to meet mine. You've asked for me to move, but I've already done that. I crossed over. I entered your atmosphere. I left the outer courts and came directly into your center. Now the question isn't whether I'll visit. It's whether you'll respond while I'm here. There is no more knocking. There is no more pacing outside. This is not me waiting for permission. This is me offering presence before permission disappears. You keep looking toward the future as though something new will happen there. But I'm not over there. I'm right here, right now, and your destiny hinges on whether you'll stop looking through the window of tomorrow and recognize the visitor standing still in the doorway of this instant. You are not being offered endless time. This isn't a cycle that restarts every time you hesitate. This is a moment so concentrated, so sacred, that if missed, it doesn't echo. It ends. And while I don't leave you, the intensity of this encounter will not wait indefinitely. Your awareness must catch up with my arrival. Your soul knows I'm here, that stirring inside isn't random. That tension you feel is recognition. Your spirit is beginning to tremble because my presence is pressing against your passivity. You cannot pretend you didn't sense this. You cannot act like nothing shifted. The atmosphere gave it away. I'm not visiting like before. I'm inhabiting. And if you ignore this, you won't lose me. But you will lose the version of yourself that could only be born from this kind of encounter. I entered this room not to watch, but to activate. But activation requires acknowledgement. Your life will not transform if you treat this like a passing moment. The weight you feel is not meant to be managed. It's meant to be met with movement. Say something. Do something. Break the silence. Take a step. Don't wait for the next knock. It's already too late for that. I'm not knocking. I'm waiting, right here, right now, watching whether my nearness will awaken what your prayers claimed you were ready for. What you're experiencing is not anxiety, pressure, or emotional confusion. It's a direct summons aimed at the deepest layer of who you are. That invisible heaviness isn't random tension. It's spiritual contact. I am reaching past your thoughts, bypassing intellectual filters, and placing my hand directly upon the place where your identity was formed. Your core, your essence, your very breath. This isn't about reason or logic. It's not an idea you're meant to understand. It's a divine reality you're being pulled into. The reason you can't ignore this, the reason your chest tightens and your breath slows, is because your soul recognizes that something eternal is pressing in. That pressure isn't danger, it's destiny. You're not having a panic attack. You're having a prophetic awakening. The heaviness is a holy signal. The weight is a sign that I'm addressing not your opinions, not your preferences, but your foundation. I'm not negotiating with the surface. I'm laying claim to what you've tried to bury beneath performance, plans, and patterns. You've armored yourself with thought, logic, and routine, hoping it would protect you from moments like this. But this encounter was never designed to appeal to your intellect. It was created to speak directly to the core that still remembers me, even when your thoughts forget. I'm calling you out of shallow places and into depths where only your spirit can go. That's why the language feels unfamiliar. That's why the silence feels louder than sound. I'm not speaking to your ears. I'm speaking to the place within you that existed before pain, before confusion, before the world told you who to be. This is not discomfort. This is deep recognition. That inner awareness that something weighty is happening. That's your spirit responding to my touch. It's the place in you that has always belonged to me, even when you didn't realize it. You are being stirred, not shaken. What feels like internal pressure is actually alignment being restored. Your body feels it because your soul is waking up. You've learned to override signals like these by numbing them with distraction, explaining them away with doubt, or filing them under emotion. But this moment isn't emotional. It's eternal. And your spirit knows it. The tightening you feel isn't panic. It's purpose knocking from within, demanding that you stop ignoring what was born to respond. I'm not interested in your reaction. I'm reaching for your agreement. Not with your mind, with your being. The reason this feels intense is because your spirit has heard me and is trying to pull the rest of you into submission. Your spirit has already said yes, but your mind is still trying to catch up. At battle between peace and hesitation. It's not confusion. It's transition. Your inner man has already started moving, and your outer world is struggling to keep up. But that weight you feel pressing down is actually an invitation to come up. It feels like pressure, but it's actually a lift. I'm pulling you into places your logic could never carry you. You are being summoned to stand in a space that wasn't built for reasoning. It was built for surrender. You are not malfunctioning. You are awakening. And awakenings always come with discomfort. I am not stretching your chest. I am expanding your capacity to feel me beyond what words can express. The room hasn't changed. Your posture is shifting. Your spirit is rising. And the weight you feel is not punishment. It's permission to respond without needing to understand. This call isn't for your head. It's for your core. Don't ignore it. You've never been closer than you are right now. Let your soul speak louder than your thoughts. I'm not waiting for you to figure this out. I'm waiting for you to respond from the place where you first knew me, and still do. That unshakable stirring, the persistent restlessness deep within you, is not a symptom of stress. It's not nervous energy. It's not emotional imbalance. What you're feeling is real, not psychological, but spiritual. It's the sound of heaven's alarm clock ringing inside your innermost being, alerting you that the hour is late and the assignment cannot wait. You've tried to interpret it through mental frameworks, tried to dismiss it as your overactive thoughts, tried to silence it with entertainment, distraction, or routine, but it won't go away. It grows louder in quiet places, stronger in stillness, more intense in solitude. That's because it wasn't meant to fade. It was designed to wake you, not from sleep, but from spiritual dullness. This urgency isn't the result of external chaos. It's the internal signal that a divine intersection has arrived. And when eternity presses into your timeline like this, your inner world can no longer remain calm, not because of fear, but because of the magnitude of what's at stake. This feeling won't subside with more rest or escape. It's not fatigue. It's not pressure from your circumstances. This is the unmistakable sound of destiny announcing that hesitation is no longer an option. It won't be soothed by comfort or quieted with delay. It demands attention. It compels movement. It invites decision. This is not panic. This is precision. You are not losing your grip. You're being pulled into alignment. You are not breaking down. You are being summoned higher. This spiritual alarm isn't random. It was scheduled long before you arrived at this moment. Everything that feels unsettled in you is connected to the fact that something sacred is drawing near and your current posture isn't sufficient to carry it. Your mind can't comprehend it. Your body doesn't know how to contain it. But your spirit knows, and it's sounding the alert to prepare everything else. You're not supposed to feel comfortable right now. This is the tension between what you've been and what you're becoming. This is the holy disruption that comes when heaven invades the rhythm you've grown accustomed to. That racing within your chest isn't danger, it's activation. That shaking in your gut isn't dread, it's readiness awakening. The reason your thoughts are racing is because your next season requires more than your current understanding. So I bypass comprehension and speak straight to your atmosphere, igniting it with my presence until you can no longer ignore the call. And you haven't imagined any of this. You haven't created this. You haven't exaggerated what you're sensing. What you're feeling is the weight of eternity pressing into your now. This is the kind of urgency that wakes prophets in the night, that moves kings from their thrones, that flips timelines upside down because a divine pivot must occur. And you're not on the sidelines of this shift. You're at the center of it. The sound you're feeling isn't outside you. It's resonating from within. Because I've placed my trumpet in your chest. I've positioned a horn of awakening inside your frame, and now it's vibrating with the frequency of divine timing. You can't shut it off. You can't mute it. You can only respond. This isn't the time to rationalize your way out of obedience. This is the moment to recognize that the fire burning within you is me making my urgency known. And when I speak like this, it's because delay would cause damage. When I press like this, it's because postponement would forfeit promises that were only meant to be fulfilled in this hour. You don't need more information. You need to yield. That feeling that won't leave. That's your wake-up call. The longer you ignore it, the more distant the invitation will become. Don't let the siren of destiny fade into background noise. Your spirit has already answered. Now your life must follow. There are certain moments in time that never leave a person, no matter how far they go or how much life changes. This is one of them. The stillness surrounding you right now may seem quiet, but it is sacred, live, and heavy with consequence. It carries the weight of what could be, and the warning of what may be lost. You are standing in a rare pocket of divine stillness that only appears when eternity pauses to give your soul one final moment to respond. This silence isn't emptiness, it's a threshold. The room may feel calm, but the air is thick with meaning. All of heaven is holding its breath, not because the outcome is unknown, but because love always makes space for choice. But choice doesn't wait forever. If you walk away from this silence without answering its call, it will follow you. Not to panic, but to remind you of what was made available and what will live and die. The quiet that surrounds you now will become the sound you remember when lesser voices grow loud again. You'll hear it in the gaps between distractions, in the hours when sleep doesn't come, in the spaces where nothing else can satisfy. This silence, right now, is not ordinary. It's the still voice of the one who created you, offering himself without demand, waiting without force, and reaching without condition. But it won't wait endlessly. You're not simply encountering a moment. You're standing at the edge of divine intersection. What you do here will echo into dimensions you cannot yet see. And if you turn away, if you convince yourself that this is emotional or coincidental, the silence will remain, but not as comfort. It will remain as memory. The memory of this stillness will visit you when chaos returns. It will whisper to you when lesser choices begin to unravel. You will remember how near I came, how softly I stood beside you, how clearly I waited without interruption. You'll replay the peace that saturated the atmosphere and wonder what would have happened if you had said yes when I offered everything. Not because I'm cruel, but because your spirit will never forget what it brushed up against and walked away from. There's no judgment in this silence, but there is accountability. You have encountered something weighty, something holy, and your soul knows it. You can pretend nothing's happening. You can push it aside, drown it out, or reason your way back into comfort. But once your spirit has felt me this close, indifference is no longer possible. What you walk away from now will visit you later, not with condemnation, but with grief. This silence will become a landmark in your timeline, a marker in the road that says, "Here was the moment where heaven leaned in." And when you revisit this point in memory, you won't remember noise. You won't remember music or movement or sensation. You will remember stillness. And it will haunt you not in fear, but in ache. The ache of what almost was. The ache of what could have changed everything. That ache is preventable. You do not have to carry this silence as regret. You can carry it as the beginning of everything new. The silence can become sacred history, not lost opportunity. But only if you respond while it still speaks. Silence like this doesn't last forever. It either becomes testimony or tragedy. You are the one who decides which. You may never be this close again, this aware, this raw, this ready. The moment has done its part. The presence is here. The voice has spoken. Now, it's your turn to answer before the stillness fades into memory. There's nothing accidental about this moment. The movement of your fingers across a screen may seem trivial, the timing may appear random, but there are no coincidences in encounters like this. You didn't stumble upon these words. You were led here, not by the algorithm of man, but by the intention of the one who governs moments with surgical precision. Right now, you are not a passive viewer. You are the focus of a divine transaction unfolding with every heartbeat. This wasn't a scheduled appointment on your calendar, but it was etched into eternity's design long before your plans were made. The path you took to arrive at this precise second, through days, decisions, delays, and even detours, has all been pointing toward now. You are not one among many. You are the reason the message is still speaking. Heaven didn't wait for a crowd. It waited for you. Others may see this and move on, but your spirit has locked in because it recognizes what your logic cannot explain. This is not general inspiration. This is a personal encounter. The words are not floating across your mind as mere encouragement. They are aimed directly at the center of who you are, with surgical accuracy, carrying the full weight of intention. Every phrase is targeted. Every sentence is drawn like an arrow pulled back by eternity's hand, released into your life to land where nothing else has reached. This moment isn't unfolding in some vague spiritual background. It's unfolding around you, for you, because of you. The rest of the world may keep spinning, people may continue tapping and scrolling without noticing, but you were not overlooked. This pause, this stop in your day, this tug in your soul, is the evidence. Your attention has been arrested by something greater than curiosity. The atmosphere has shifted because you were spotted. You've been tagged by heaven, and now everything around you is responding accordingly. You've wondered if God notices you in the noise. You've questioned if you've somehow gone unseen, lost beneath the weight of everyone else's louder needs. But this precise unfolding, is your answer. You are not forgotten. You are not just another soul drifting through a crowded timeline of faces. You are being singled out for encounter, not in judgment, not in shame, but in deep, irreversible love. There's no hiding anymore. Not because you're exposed, but because you're being drawn out of shadows you never belonged in. Every false label you've accepted, every lie you've absorbed, every cloak you've wrapped yourself in to stay hidden, they're unraveling under the weight of this reality. You're seen. Fully. Intimately. Undeniably. You didn't search for this, but this searched for you. Not because you earned it, not because you were seeking hard enough, but because love that refuses to quit had your name written on its next movement. And now, here it is. Not loud, not forced, just quietly undeniable. You don't need to know how it works. You don't need to understand why it's happening now. You only need to know this. You're not being inspired. You're being invited. The kind of invitation that doesn't come with glitter or soundtracks, but with stillness that arrests the air and makes everything else fade into background noise. Don't minimize this. Don't treat this like content. This isn't content. This is contact. This isn't a clip. It's a calling. You weren't just scrolling. You were summoned. And now the moment is alive around you, pulsing with the truth you've needed to hear but didn't know how to find. You're the one. You've always been the one. Not by merit, but by mercy. Not by effort, but by divine selection. This moment is not late. It's precisely on time. And you are exactly where you were meant to be, chosen. But I accomplished wasn't partial. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't a gesture to be admired from afar. It was a finished act that carries unbreakable authority, a victory that carries both the power to forgive and the power to repair. You've been told the story of my sacrifice, but you haven't fully realized the inheritance attached to it. I didn't give my life so you could survive in cycles of confusion, fear, or delay. I gave it so you could reclaim everything that darkness attempted to dismantle. And right now, I'm not offering a memory. I'm delivering restoration. You weren't meant to keep limping through life under the weight of what was lost, stolen, broken, or forgotten. I didn't suffer and rise to watch you live beneath your calling. I came back to bring you back. You've accepted fragments for too long, pieces of identity, glimpses of freedom, portions of joy, as if full restoration was never possible. But I didn't purchase partial healing. I didn't overcome the grave so you could learn to cope with the damage. I overcame it to return to you everything that was compromised, what was taken from you, your voice, your confidence, your purity, your clarity, your trust. None of it is beyond retrieval. I'm not just patching wounds. I'm rebuilding the foundation that lies beneath them. What feels irreparable to you is easy in my hands, but I won't force it. I won't invade. I wait for your agreement, not because I'm weak, but because I respect what I created in you. Free will. That's how sacred your partnership is to me. I did everything necessary to make the door open. Now I wait for you to walk through. You've let regret rewrite your perspective. You've let loss redefine your expectations. You've let time convince you that too much has happened to ever get it back. But I don't operate within the constraints of time. I operate from redemption. And redemption doesn't apologize. It restores. It walks back into the rooms the enemy looted and replaces what was taken, multiplied. What you thought was gone forever. That innocence, that boldness, that hunger for truth. I've held it safely, waiting for the moment you'd be ready to receive it again. You don't need to work your way toward it. You need only to return, not to your past, but to me. I didn't endure agony just to become an option among many. I paid in full so that you would never again have to wonder whether you were valuable enough to be rescued. The price has already been covered. You don't owe a thing except your surrender. But you must choose. You must stop treating my presence right now, while you're weighing your response, while the questions rise and the internal debate rages. I'm not standing at a distance waiting to see if you'll get it right. I'm surrounding you with protection you don't even realize you need. You've mistaken my stillness for absence, but I'm active even in your indecision. I've stationed grace like a shield around you, not because you've chosen me yet, but because I've already chosen you. I'm not simply observing from a distance, arms folded, testing your resolve. I'm near, holding back things you can't see, deflecting attacks you didn't notice, silencing voices that were assigned to break you during this very moment. You are not alone in this process. You are under divine shelter while you wrestle. You've hesitated because you feared judgment. But what surrounds you isn't condemnation. It's a barrier of mercy. I didn't step into this hour to expose your flaws. I stepped in to ensure your surrender wouldn't be crushed by opposition before it even started. Every second you sit in this tension, I'm holding the space open with my presence. The weight you feel isn't pressure to perform. It's the weight of being completely covered while you stand at a personal crossroads. I'm watching you, yes, but not as a critic. I'm watching as a guardian, a protector, a redeemer who already paid the full price and now guards the moment when you finally realize it. Do you really think you're here by chance? That you made it to this encounter because you navigated your way perfectly? You've been carried, shielded through situations that should have shattered you, surrounded during nights when despair could have overtaken you. And even now, as your heart races and your mind spins, I'm anchoring the atmosphere so that nothing interferes with what is being birthed in this sacred window. I'm preserving this ground so that you have room to breathe, to see, to feel, to awaken, without being destroyed in the process. You see, my covering isn't passive. It's aggressive in its defense of you. You don't know how many interferences I silenced to make this message reach you undistorted. You don't realize how many distractions were scheduled to pull you away but got canceled in the spirit. You don't see how many lies were written to confuse you in this hour, but I intercepted them before they touched your soul. I'm not just standing by. I'm interceding for you, warring on your behalf in dimensions you don't have language for. And I'll keep standing here, not forever, but for this appointed time, until you make the decision to step into what I've preserved for you. I won't pressure you, but I will guard you. I won't manipulate your response, but I will keep darkness from manipulating your vision. I've gone to war for your awareness, and now I'm shielding your space so that your surrender can rise without interference. What kind of love does this? What kind of king prepares a moment, defends it, steps into it, and waits quietly for his child to respond? That's what I'm doing now. I'm not watching to tally your delay. I'm watching because I care too much to let you go unguarded while you're this close. So breathe. You're safe right now. Not because the world is quiet, but because I've silenced the storm long enough for you to hear me clearly. I'm not rushing you. I'm holding back everything trying to rush you. I've created a bubble in time where clarity can rise, not through pressure, but through presence. And I've filled that bubble with my nearness. I'm closer than your fear, closer than your doubt, closer than the weight sitting on your chest. And I will remain here until your yes breaks through. I'm not just watching, I'm covering, until you choose me fully. You've spent so long trying to get it right, adjusting, refining, hiding imperfections, polishing your image, hoping that one day you'd feel worthy enough to engage fully with what you've been sensing in your spirit. But I need you to understand, you're not being observed like an actor on a stage. You're not being graded. This moment isn't about the presentation you've prepared, it's about the agreement you've delayed. There are no heavenly hands clapping for what you can package. There is only divine desire reaching for the real you, the one beneath, the masks beneath, the defense mechanisms beneath, the rehearsed answers. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm not waiting for a flawless performance. I'm seeking partnership, participation, vulnerable, present, unfiltered engagement. Your gifts don't impress me. I gave them to you. Your talents don't earn you access. They were deposited in your design. What I long for is your heart. Honest, undistracted. I'm not moved by your ability to appear spiritual. I'm moved when your soul steps into the conversation without reservation. That's what heaven watches for. Not the polish, but the posture. Not how well you present your story, but whether you're willing to let me rewrite it. The hosts surrounding my throne are not celebrating how well you're performing under pressure. They're interceding, contending, groaning with deep longing for you to enter in. You think heaven is waiting for your next impressive move. It's not. It's longing for your surrender, for your voice, for your motion toward the divine invitation currently pulsing in the air around you. You've been misled into believing that approval comes through productivity, but participation begins the moment you release control and respond. You don't need a platform. You need to engage. You don't need to say the right words. You need to open your spirit. This isn't about being ready. It's about being real. You can't impress me. You don't have to. I know every thought before it forms, every motive before it matures. What I want is your yes, not polished, not packaged, not rehearsed, just honest. Will you stop acting like you need to qualify for what's already been paid for? Will you stop trying to earn what's been freely extended? I've already done the heavy lifting. What remains is your willingness to step into what's already been established. But participation requires presence, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, wholly. You can't be halfway here. You can't multitask destiny. You can't skim past divine instruction and expect to absorb transformation. That tension you feel inside, it's not guilt. It's divine insistence. It's me refusing to let you settle for observation when you were designed for impact. You weren't created to spectate. You were born to embody my message, to walk with me, not merely talk about me. You were never meant to clap from the sidelines. You were meant to move in step with the Spirit. And right now, that invitation is wide open. The question isn't whether you're good enough. The question is whether you will join in. There's a shift taking place, and it's not waiting for the next show. It's unfolding in the lives of those who have said yes while trembling, who have stepped forward while broken, who have chosen alignment before understanding. Those are the ones heaven celebrates, Not the well-rehearsed, but the willing. Not the put together, but the present. You are being called into that number, not later. Now, while the moment is alive, while the door is still open, I'm not applauding how long you've endured. I'm extending my hand, asking, will you partner with what I'm doing right now? Your participation changes everything, but it must begin before you feel prepared. It must begin with you. What happened behind you has already been seen, sorted, and settled in my hands. The failures, the regrets, the missed opportunities, they are not what this moment is circling. I'm not bringing you here to revisit yesterday's decisions. I'm bringing you here because of what's unfolding in front of you, and I need to know if you're willing to guard what's being entrusted. You've used your history as a reference point for far too long, but the conversation has shifted. I'm not interested in rehearsing what broke you. I'm revealing what's being born through you, and asking whether you'll stand in position to protect it. The future is no longer theoretical. It's arriving. Destiny is no longer waiting in concept. It's forming in real time. But what comes next can't survive in an unguarded environment. What I've placed in you, what I've whispered into your inner world, what I've begun stirring beneath your surface, it must be defended. Not with violence, but with focus. Not with striving, but with stewardship. The threat isn't the wounds from your past. It's the distractions in your present. If the enemy can't steal your calling, he'll try to wear you down so you forfeit your clarity. He'll distract you with battles that aren't yours. He'll flood your mind with conflicts that dilute your discernment. And that's why I've brought you to this still moment, to recalibrate your gaze and to remind you that what you protect now determines what survives later. You've been entrusted with something sacred. You may not see its full shape yet, but it's forming. It's delicate. It's vulnerable. And if you allow anything and everything to access your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, what I'm birthing in you will be suffocated by noise that was never meant to enter your atmosphere. You're not in a season of reflection anymore. You're in a season of cultivation. And what grows next depends entirely on your ability to draw boundaries around the assignment. You've been forgiven. You've been restored. But now you must become vigilant. Not paranoid, watchful. You must guard the whispers I've placed in your spirit the way a shepherd guards sheep at night, not casually, but with understanding that wolves often approach quietly. You can no longer be careless with your time, your input, your environment. Not because you're in danger, but because your purpose is. I didn't free you so you could blend back into chaos. I called you out so you could become a gatekeeper of what I'm preparing through you. The battles of your past have ended, but the stewardship of this season has just begun. This moment is about alignment, not about who hurt you, but about what you're willing to protect now that you've been healed. You're standing at the threshold of something weighty, and whether or not it matures depends on how seriously you guard it. You cannot afford to be passive about your peace, casual with your convictions, or open to every voice. You are being asked to preserve something that hasn't fully emerged yet, but soon will. And what you allow in now will determine whether it blooms or withers. Don't look back. Not because what's behind you was insignificant, but because it's already been dealt with. It served its purpose. It refined you, but it no longer defines you. From this moment forward, the focus shifts. The question is no longer, what have you been through? It's now, what will you honor with your attention? Will you recognize what's been planted? Will you guard the roots before anyone sees the fruit? You've been chosen not just to carry it, but to shield it. This is your charge. Protect what matters. Refuse entry to anything that clouds what's clear. Set your attention like flint, and watch how what I've begun in secret begins to rise, because you valued it before it was visible. Every breath you take in this precise moment is holding a decision so delicate, yet so definitive, that it will separate your life into what came before and what comes next. You are standing at a junction where the direction is no longer determined by effort, but by recognition. Recognition of what is being offered, and acknowledgement of what will be lost if you ignore it. The atmosphere is saturated with divine invitation, not to pressure you, but to awaken you to the proximity of a line that, once crossed, reshapes your story in permanent ways. You are not on neutral ground. The edge you are on will either carry you into breakthrough or spin you back into cycles you barely escaped. Regret doesn't show up wearing red flags. It often arrives quietly, disguised as a small delay, a casual dismissal, a voice that says, maybe later. But later is where revelation dies when now is ignored. And right now, revelation is hovering, waiting to land. It's circling this moment like a dove looking for a place to rest, but it can only descend where there's surrender. This isn't about doing more. This is about discerning what stands before you. The path to revelation opens when your soul stops trying to control and starts choosing to trust. Regret is not simply about missing something. It's about knowing you had access and chose to pause instead of pursue. And if you don't act, that knowing will visit you in quiet places, not with guilt, but with ache. The kind of ache that doesn't go away with time, because time can't heal what obedience could have prevented. But revelation doesn't haunt. It builds. It unfolds. It doesn't just speak, it unveils. It takes what was once murky and impossible to understand and makes it unmistakably clear. That clarity is within reach, but it won't come to the undecided. You are closer than you realize. You are on the cusp of something that can't be earned. It can only be received. But that receiving demands a posture of yes that cannot be postponed. The difference between this moment becoming a memory or a miracle lies in what you choose right now. This is not about emotion. This is about awareness. What you sense in your spirit isn't pressure, it's precision. You've been summoned into a moment that separates indecision from destiny. The hour has narrowed, and clarity is available, but it won't linger if dismissed. This is the moment where heaven leans in, not with judgment, but with focus. Where everything begins to shift based not on your effort, but on your response. And if you listen closely, beneath the stillness, you'll hear it. The sound of a door preparing to open or preparing to shut. One leads to revelation, the kind that redefines your atmosphere, your calling, your capacity. The other leads to silence, the kind that leaves you wondering why it felt so loud before and so quiet now. That contrast is real, and you're standing in the space between them. You can't stretch this moment indefinitely. You can't tame it, reschedule it, or bottle it for another day. You can only embrace it while it breathes. Every second you wait, the gravity increases, not because you're failing, but because the moment was never meant to be carried. It was meant to be entered, and you are still on the edge, still in reach, still within the window. But windows don't stay open forever. They respond to timing. They respect decisions. They reward movement. If you hesitate now, you'll remember this intersection, not with clarity but with questions. But if you say yes now, a full, trembling, surrendered yes, you'll be ushered into a level of understanding that erases confusion without explanation. You'll step out of wondering and into witnessing. The choice is yours. One direction leads to reflection on what could have been. The other leads to unveiling what always was. What you choose in these next moments will mark everything. Choose the revelation. You spent so much energy trying to fix, polish, and improve, as if I've been waiting on your performance to qualify you for this moment. But I never required you to have it all together. I've only asked that you look toward me, not with one eye on your worries and the other on my promises. Not distracted by what everyone else expects from you. Just full focus. Undivided. Present. Because attention is the currency of transformation. What you look at, you become aware of. What you give your gaze to, you give authority to. And right now, I don't need you to be flawless. I need you to be here. Your awareness is what I'm after, not your perfectionism. You've misunderstood my heart if you think I wait for spotless behavior before I move. I'm not standing above you with a list of requirements. I'm beside you, inviting you to fix your focus. I need your heart turned toward me without the noise of self-criticism clouding your hearing. You keep measuring your readiness by your consistency, but I measure it by your attention span. When you look my direction, I move in ways that aren't triggered by achievement, but by recognition. It's your awareness that changes everything. When you become fully aware of my presence, without flinching, without multitasking, without rushing, something unlocks in the unseen. I'm not looking for a perfect vessel, I'm seeking a present one. Can you stop running through mental checklists long enough to realize that I'm speaking now? Can you slow the flood of distractions that threaten to steal your awareness before the seed is planted? You don't need to fix yourself. You need to focus yourself. Stop scanning your flaws like a mirror. Raise your eyes and meet mine. I know where you've been. I know the missteps, the confusion, the things you regret but can't change. That doesn't disqualify you. It positions you. Because attention isn't earned through purity, it's given through humility. I'm not scanning for perfection. I'm waiting for permission. The kind that comes when someone says, I don't know what to do next, but I know where to look. And when I have your attention, I can give you clarity. Not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned. That's all I've needed. This urgency you feel is a call to lift your eyes above everything else that's been consuming you. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm ready. And I want you to be ready too. But readiness isn't achieved through striving. It comes through attention. You prepare by focusing. You align by looking. That's how your spirit hears what your mind can't. The noise of your world had been trying to keep you looking left and right, but I'm above the confusion, and I'm calling you upward. Elevation comes through direction, not perfection, and that direction is me. So if your thoughts are racing, if your emotions are tangled, if your inner world feels chaotic, don't run. Don't try to clean it all up before responding. Just turn your gaze. Your response isn't supposed to be polished. It's supposed to be present. The ones I use aren't the ones who got it all right. They're the ones who paid attention. Who noticed when I walked into the room. Who stopped when I whispered. Who gave me their awareness even when everything else demanded it. Look up. I'm not disappointed. I'm drawing you in. This moment isn't about what's behind you. It's about what you see right now. The distractions are loud, but my voice is stronger. If you're willing to listen, you don't need to understand everything. You just need to notice that I'm here, and I'm speaking, and I haven't left. You're not too late. You're not too far. But you are being called to focus, because what I'm about to release requires people who don't just believe. It requires those who are watching, and you must look away from alignment. Every time you hesitated, postponed, or convinced yourself that you were not ready, you unknowingly shifted the clock forward. But grace didn't abandon you. It waited. It lingered at the door of your decision, still knocking, still hoping. However, now, the final moments are approaching, and with them comes a sharper clarity. The opportunity hasn't been erased, but it's no longer open-ended. This isn't a warning rooted in fear. It's an awakening drawn from divine timing. You are standing in a moment that cannot be recreated, and heaven is alert, watching not just your actions but your response. This divine countdown doesn't mean I've stopped loving you. It means I'm urgently calling you. There are movements assigned to your name that can't be postponed any longer. Heaven's timeline is colliding with your hesitation, and that collision is creating a final window. Not because I'm punishing you, but because what's coming requires readiness, not delay. But to postpone someone else may pick up. Not because I replaced you, but because assignments are time-sensitive, and the world cannot afford to wait on indecision anymore. You were chosen for a reason, but now, you must act like it. Your delay has caused ripples, in relationships, in divine setups, in places where your obedience was a missing piece. And still, I held it open. Still, I whispered through closed doors, urging you forward. But now the atmosphere is shifting. This is not another reminder. This is the final prompt. If you don't rise now, you'll not only miss what I wanted to give, you'll miss who I needed you to become. This is your emergence moment, and heaven isn't just watching, it's recording your movement. You've been trained through pain, sharpened through misunderstanding, forged in the fire of things no one saw. And all of that was preparation for this. But preparation has an expiration when it's not followed by action. You can't live forever in the waiting room and expect to enter the throne room. There comes a time when the door swings open, and you must decide whether your fear is greater than your assignment. That moment is now, and you can't borrow time that's no longer on the clock. This is the weight of divine urgency, when heaven leans in and watches for movement, when angels stand ready but need your yes to be more than a whisper, when destiny is still possible, but only if matched with bold obedience. You've asked me to move. I've already moved. I'm waiting on you. The hesitation that once felt safe is now becoming disobedience. The procrastination that once felt justified is now becoming spiritual abandonment. Not because I left you, but because you're abandoning the moment I handcrafted for you. If you don't step now, the scenery will change. Doors won't stay open because you want them to. They're opening because this is their moment to swing. You've cried for alignment. This is it. You've begged for direction. This is the answer. You fasted for purpose. This is the gate. But gates don't stay open out of sentiment. They open based on timing. And timing is sacred. So if you delay again, don't blame confusion. Don't accuse silence. You'll be standing outside what I designed for you, not because you were rejected, but because you were too slow. You're not being left behind. You're being told, once more, to move. But this time, your delay won't be absorbed like before. This time, your inaction has eternal consequence. I don't say this to terrify you. I say it to awaken you. You've had confirmations, visions, signs, dreams, words spoken in the middle of storms. It's not that you don't know what to do, it's that you haven't done it. But there's still breath in your lungs, which means there's still time on the clock. 8 minutes. That's what you have. What you do in that space determines more than you know. So don't just hear me. Obey me. Stand up spiritually. Declare war on your delay. Step into the timing that was assigned before you were even formed. Destiny is not denied, but it can be missed. Don't miss what is literally watching for your response. Heaven is poised. The timeline is active. And you still have time, barely. What matters now is your movement. Not your feelings. Not your fear. But your yes. Don't delay again. You won't get this minute back. Right now, in this very moment, there are divine agents surrounding your life, waiting in full obedience to my voice. But they cannot override your free will. The assignments written in heaven have your name etched on them in holy fire, but they will not descend without your response. This is not about asking for one more confirmation. This is not about hesitating until everything feels perfect. This is the second before release, and all of heaven is holding position, looking at you, waiting for one signal: movement. Not noise, not anxiety, not even declarations, but actual, raw, irrevocable movement that confirms to me that you've chosen to step in alignment with what I've arranged. I don't operate in chaos. I move in clarity. And clarity has already been released to your spirit. That restlessness you felt, that tug that won't let you sleep, that burning in your chest you've tried to quiet, it's not confusion. It's spiritual momentum waiting for your permission. I've not been silent. You've been resisted. And yet, in love, I'm still sending angelic hosts to guard what you haven't stepped into yet, just so you don't lose what's still retrievable. but even they are bound by my order. They cannot override your stillness. They cannot act until you move. Do you understand what's happening around you? There is a war being waged in the unseen. Demons that know what you're about to unlock are scrambling to distract you. Spirits of delay, doubt, and diversion have surrounded you not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous. And yet, every time you hesitate, they gain ground. Every time you overthink, they celebrate. Every time you say later, they tighten their grip. But one step, one fully surrendered step, would reverse everything. Your obedience terrifies darkness more than any scream. One step taken in my will is louder in the spirit realm than 1,000 prayers uttered in fear. Your angels have not abandoned you. They are ready. They've been whispering to your soul. They've tried to orchestrate divine interruptions, the people who spoke words you didn't expect, the sudden doors you didn't knock on, the urges to act that didn't make sense. That wasn't your mind, that was heavenly instruction. And you ignored it, not out of rebellion, but out of uncertainty. Yet now, the time has changed. You're no longer being gently nudged. You are being summoned to command what I've placed in front of you to activate. Angels are waiting for your yes to not only be spoken, but lived. Until then, they stand still, hands full of blessings they cannot yet release. Some of you are begging for a sign. The sign was given when I woke you up this morning, when your heart kept beating, when your spirit didn't let you rest, when your scroll in heaven began to tremble, sensing the weight of time running out. It was the sign. This moment is your answer. I don't delay because I'm cruel. I delay because I protect. And if I've held something back, it's only because I didn't want it wasted. But now, the tie line can't wait on your comfort. Now, the angels have moved from waiting to watching if you will seize what they were assigned to deliver. Do you want the shift or just the idea of it? Because the real shift will cost your comfort. The real shift will require your pride. The real shift will threaten your routine. But it will also bring alignment that decades of striving could never manufacture. It will release provision that no effort could ever earn. It will activate protection that no plan could ever guarantee. All of it is stored, waiting, locked by your passcode of faith and motion. If you act now, you will collide with what you once only dreamed about. But if you pause again, you will watch someone else wear what you were designed to carry. You are not unworthy. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. But you are in the final seconds of this assignment's window. And there are no more practice rounds. The angels are still waiting, but not forever. The countdown is echoing through eternity. This is not punishment. This is activation. You've been given one final push. What you do now determines if what was written will be walked in or witnessed from a distance. Amen.